What do a high school dropout with social anxiety and an animator just messing around with Blender have in common? They went on to become legends who directed some of the biggest anime of recent times. Meet Kachiro Saito. When he entered the anime industry, he was known for drawing all the empty and sad scenes. But guess what anime he went on to direct? Shota Goshono started as a humble key animator for Black Clover, but would go on to direct arguably the biggest anime of modern times, Jujutsu Kaisen in seasons 2 and 3. Both are very unlikely directors, and both are redefining what it means to adapt manga into anime. This is the Chill Samurai, and let's talk about when new directors change anime forever. Projects. While most recreate the manga almost frame by frame, Saito and Shota take a different approach. But before we get into what these directors mean for the anime industry, let's start with each director's style and reception. Saito's first anime he directed was Bocchi the Rock. Most anime adapt around 4 to 6 manga volumes in a typical 12-episode run, but Bocchi the Rock only adapted 1.5. This was a massive gamble, but allowed the story to not be rushing from one plot point to another. He was able to expand on the jokes and emotional arcs and add depth to the series through new scenes. The jokes are also wildly different from any other anime I've ever seen, mixing in live action, 3D models, and sometimes the animation just going haywire. While the characters and plot are fun, I don't think that's why Bocchi the Rock blew up in 2022. It was because it combined the relatability of the source material with the out-of-the-box jokes from the director to create an incredibly unique experience you simply couldn't have had from just reading the manga. He also puts a lot of attention to the composition of the scenes, especially through something called expressionless directing. This is a cinematic technique where emotions are conveyed through the framing, colors, or camera angles. Saito once shared, "I prefer compositions that express the character's sense of disconnection. I mainly direct by placing characters who feel disconnected far away from the screen and inserting crowds close to the screen." In Bocchi the Rock, it was inserted in a scene where Hitori doesn't feel a sense of kinship with her classmates in her flashbacks. And in Frieren, it was inserted in a scene where Frieren is criticized for not showing emotion at Himmel's death. I think it's worth noting that, as I said at the beginning, he was a high school dropout because of social anxiety and depression, and was a hikikomori. Probably butchered that, but I tried. That is someone in Japan who basically isolates themselves from everyone for 6 months at least, and just doesn't want to deal with everything. Thankfully, he overcame his depression and seems to have a pretty good social circle now, but I think this is very important to both projects he's directed so far. Bocchi has a very clear connection to this, and is likely why her anxiety is so realistic and relatable for so many. Even Frieren has a disconnect from society. This means he's in a unique position to portray these emotions through the direction, as well as how they overcome these feelings, which adds to their special feeling. The final thing that makes Saito's directing so unique is where he draws inspiration from. While most new directors and animators draw inspiration from more recent anime, Saito looks further back. Some of his biggest inspirations are the likes of Hayao Miyazaki, Isao Takahata, and Kisaburo Sugi, who all started animating around the 60s. If you've seen a Studio Ghibli film, you probably see some parallels to Frieren's atmosphere and pacing. Even when directing Bocchi, he wanted the characters to have more simple designs to focus on movement and expressiveness, similar to a lot of more retro anime. All these things put together create the perfect style to make Frieren and Bocchi the Rock reach worldwide fame. His work has received universal acclaim from manga and non-manga readers alike. He's such a talented director and found a really good balance of bringing in his own ideas to elevate the source material to the next level. Shota has an equally bold and unique approach to adapting manga into anime. When working on Black Clover, he was introduced to Blender by Tatsuya Yoshihara, aka the guy who went on to direct Chainsaw Man: The Reze arc. This was pretty groundbreaking for the time, so he was one of the earlier animators who understood how to do it. Once he got the hang of it, he would go on to be key animator in probably the best fight in Black Clover, definitely the best fighting ranking of Kings, and quite a few episodes in Fate Babylonia, among others. In all of these scenes, what he likes to do with Blender is have a CG background with 2D characters. This allows the background to be moved however he wants, which is what gives both his fight scenes and quieter scenes such dynamic movement and feeling to them. While he's really good at fast-moving fight scenes, he actually prefers to direct slow action with rich camera work and elaborate action. This highlights what makes his directing so unique and, at times, divisive. He loves to mess around with different camera lens effects and is obsessed with camera work and composition. One scene that really highlighted his focus on composition was the 4-minute rotoscoped one take I talked about a few videos back. One thing I've noticed is he loves the fisheye look, which is basically zooming into characters' faces to highlight their focus or inner turmoil, such as Geto in the shower or Boji before fighting his father. I wasn't sure how to feel about these at first, as whenever I've seen the fisheye used, it looks kinda goofy, like with the Megamind meme or the controversial clip from the Superman trailer, but at this point I love the look. He's also a big fan of Satoshi Kon's work, which, for those who don't know, he directed stuff like Perfect Blue and Millennial Actress, which, if you ask me, explains a lot. Shota has a very similar level of focus on movement and character blocking that Saito does, but he goes about it in an entirely different way. I personally love both approaches, but in any case, both seem to be taking anime adaptations in much more cinematic and experimental directions. What I find interesting is Saito left Frieren after Season 1, and Shota is most likely leaving JJK after Part 1 of the Cooling Games. I don't think we need to be worried though. In many cases, anime is about adapting the manga as close as possible and leaving most of the creativity to the mangaka. But these directors are showing that the anime can be just as creative and innovative in how you bring those ideas to the big and small screens. I think the directors jumping from project to project shows they value their creative works and want to continue creating new things. And it's not like they left the studios with nothing. Frieren Season 2's director is following in Saito's footsteps, and I'm sure JJK's next director will do the same, while adding their own unique flavor to the mix, of course. And I think that's an exciting thing. Thanks for watching. Also, what do you think of their unique directing styles? Let me know in the comments. Be sure to subscribe and share the video as I'm trying to reach 2,000 subs by the end of the month. If we do hit it, y'all will get to pick what anime or topic I cover next. But with all that said, thanks again and enjoy the rest of your day.